You are now listening to FATHERU Radio.
Quit hating and get freedom, my nigga.
DJ Fresh, DJ Fresh, DJ Fresh, Sarah Fresh.
Yo, good evening, family. Sorry about the delay, but welcome to another episode of FATHERU Radio tonight. It's your brother Cecil Prophet in the house, gonna do this thing solo dolo. My partner in crime, brother Nausi, is handling business in the familial sense, so he'll be back with us next week. But tonight, family, we do have an exclusive just for the family interview with the brother Holly Rod. He is a local KC artist, born and raised. And recently there's been some controversy. Well, maybe that's a strong word. Let me say contentious discussion. How about that? Really recently about local KC talent, local KC artists not getting any love and support from our one and only hip hop and R&B radio station, which is Kprs, Hot 103 Jamz. So right now we have the brother Holly Rod on the phone. You there, brother?
Yeah, I'm right here, baby.
Yes, sir, man. How's everything going for you this evening?
Man, everything's cool. I can't complain, man, at all. The energy is positive, man. Everything's cool.
Very good, man. That's good to hear, man. But before we get into the interview, man, you know what? Could you go ahead, let the family know a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your music career and your history?
Yeah, no doubt, man. As far as this is Holly Rod, man, you may know me, you may not. In the music industry, have worked for people like L.A. Reid and the Face Records. So I've always been kind of involved in the background in the music scene. For a little while, I did music. I got involved. I had some radio play, and a little bit of a buzz for a little while. My real niche is writing. I've always been a writer. So for the music, experiment that I was doing, really based upon me writing some real good quality records and try to motivate other musicians around me that I thought were a lot more talented. So I did, for me it was what I consider community service and just really trying to spark the movement, because the Kansas City music scene for a long time has been stagnant, and it's been kind of a struggle, a lot of challenging obstacles for the artists to really get on as far as local support, and that's just from the radios and the DJs. Okay. And as far as my background is concerned, man, I'm not doing music anymore at this time. I'm more focused on my writing. I have a publishing company that that I run independently for literature, fiction, and nonfiction, and that type of thing. So I've kind of moved up to music, and I've moved more in depth into the writing aspect of the entertainment side. Okay, yeah, brother, that's good to hear, man. Thanks for giving us that quick spiel of your history, man. So let's jump right into it, brother. So I want you, well, let me ask the question, because I want you to kind of give the background, because it looks like this may have started off as a Twitter discussion between one of our local radio DJs, the brother Brian B. Shining, and with a local KC artist by the name of Rory Fresco. Is that correct? Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And go ahead, man. Go ahead and let the family know. Give the family the background of their discussion, and let the family know how you try to, encourage hip hop artists here with having them get the support of the radio station, and how that kind of, for lack of better words, backfired and kind of started the contentions between y'all discussion.
Absolutely, man. Just to kind of give you a background, and even before the Rory Fresco situation, me and Brian B. Shiner, you know, we got history. Like I said, man, I did music. You know, I knew Brian B. Shiner when he first got into radio when he worked in three. And he was working up under Big Diamond, is, you know, kind of the pioneer around Heat and movement that he started. Kind of inherited movement. So, you know, I was really involved a lot in, kind of in the background, in the beginning stages of what underground he was on to. And so me and Brian B. Shiner, man, we had history because, you know, before he was, you know, the head radio personality on where he moved up into where he's at in 103.
Okay.
You know, he played and supported and campaigned for that I ever submitted to the radio. You know, and my relationship with the radio staff was real direct. There's always been a lack of support for radio in terms of local artists. There's a lot of local artists that go unseen and overlooked. And, you know, radio is the biggest, oldest platform to get the music out. So,
right.
We can kind of fast forward to the Rory Fresco situation. You know, Rory Fresco is an artist that is born and raised in Kansas City. He's a young cat that got signed by Epic Records, you know, last year when he was 19 now. And, you know, he's raised in Kansas City, so he's a hometown kid. You know, I actually know his dad. His dad is, you know, a cat that's more, you know, from my era. And, you know, his son was discovered, you know, according to his music heard on the internet, how to deal with, you know, with L.A. Reid really being fully supportive behind him. So he's been making moves for the last year. So,
okay.
Yeah, but what happened was, you know, I looked up on Twitter and some of Rory's fans before my time. You know, I've had a lot of family members that have been Agno 3.
Okay.
Rory took the approach that, you know, most local artists that don't get played on 103 for one reason or another, you know, it's an ongoing issue that has existed in Kansas City music for many decades.
Okay.
So Rory just kind of explained, he took that approach that, you know, 103 is not one of those stations that really supports local music. And, you know, so he kind of got in a back and forth with his fans, and Brian B. Shiner saw that and took offense to it, and tried to take the station's offense. What I saw was back and forth between a radio personality, Brian B. Shiner, radio that has always, you know, been part of the early stage movement of campaigning for artists. And what it looked like to me was that Brian B. Shiner was kind of in the process of station, he took some personal shots at the art, and how he got discovered and how he got signed. You know, one we said was, you know, Rory basically said that he has to be the #1 independent artist in the country in 103 Love outside of the 2 hour. You know, the Underground Heat is a show that started in 2006. It's played on Friday, Saturday night at the night hour.
Right.
You know, it's kind of more the left side. That's what really is where you can get most of your locals featured. That's the spot that 103 has in their program. And
real fast, not to cut you off, but as you stated in the beginning, Kenny Diamonds was the one that laid the foundation for that, correct?
Yeah, Kenny Diamonds was the one that actually started the Brown Heat Show movement in 2006. You know, it was kind of my program, you know. He was paying for it out of his own pocket, and you know, after a while, you know, the show garnered some buzz. He was able to lock in some shit, and so the station actually made it part of the program, and gave him a slot, and you know, part of the program where it was coming all the way out of his pocket. And so, you know, that was in 2006. Maybe a year or so later. To say a year later, Brian, you know, he came into the picture as an intern up under Kenny Diamond. Kenny Diamond, by that point, you know, the station had grown, or the station, not the station, but the club had grown from a pre-recorded show to being approved to go live. At that point, when it was live, you know, Brian B. Shine worked the station intern, but you know, he came in a and so we started a movie. We really kind of started a movie. Diamonds moved on to St. Louis radio. Brian came up under him, up like his wing. You know, he came in and took over. That was kind of the Brian B. Shine with the under. So fast.
Brother Rod, hold on. You kind of a little bit. You kind of cutting in and out. I don't know. I don't know if that's my device or if it's a connection we got going on.
It could be mine, but
okay. You sound.
Let me see if it's a little better.
So,
what I was saying was, you know, Brian B. Shine came in up under Kenny Diamonds with the Underground Heat movement on 103, and when Kenny Diamonds moved on to a different opportunity, Brian B. Shine became the man in that position. And so that's been the case for a few years now. And so basically, what I saw was a tweet, you know, Brian B. Shine was responding to Rory Fresco, you know, talking about the lack of skill. Rory made a comment that, you know, 103 supports the #1 independent artist in the country in regular rotation outside of 2 a.m. hours. And you know, so what happened with that tweet, Brian B. Shine responded to that tweet.
Hold on.
And said, you know, that's better than being,
you sound a little muffled right now, Brother Rod.
Say that again.
There you go. You sound really clear right now. You sounded a little bit muffled a couple seconds.
My bad.
You sound good right now.
Bad.
Yeah, go ahead.
Stop me whenever that happens. Well, Brian B. Shine responded to Rory's tweet about, you know, not getting love unless he's the #1 independent artist in the country. Brian B. Shine responded to the tweet and he said, that's better than being lucky off of getting signed from an algorithm.
Right. And I see no screenshots that you posted on that post. Now, on that post, man, so go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say, and this was my finishing touch. I was basically saying that, you know, when that happened, you know, Rory, his next response was, well, whether it's luck or not, I'm not gonna have to work a day again in my life. And then Brian B. Shine had followed up with, well, we'll revisit this in about 3 years. And, you know, for me personally, I took that as hazy.
Yeah.
I took that as part of the ongoing continuing issues and challenges artists face when they do everything that they're supposed to do. You know, this is somebody that created his own music. So however his music got heard by other listeners heard his music and they liked it. The record label liked his music and they started putting money and a budget behind him creating more music. He's created 3 albums at this point in a year's time and he still doesn't get a radio play. So when I saw him tweet about his 3rd album that was completed, I thought that was really interesting that Kansas City listeners, a lot of the Kansas City public has never heard of this guy, and he doesn't get radio support, even though he's working with high-profile producers like Timberland.
You kind of muffled again, brother. Kind of muffled again.
Okay, you know, even though he's working with high-profile producers like Timberland and big names like L.A. Reid, the industry icon, put money behind him with Epic Records, Kansas City listeners, the Kansas City public in general, doesn't know about him through any type of radio or local support.
Right.
So that was kind of the background on that.
Yeah, see, and I can attest to that too because I never heard of the brother until I seen your post and all the commentary that was on there. Now, in regards to your post, you got like I said, you got a lot of engagement on there, man, and it seems like a lot of people are actually in agreement from your perspective. So so with that said, let me ask you this, man. How is it that Kansas City has big artists, you know, Tech Nine, Rich the Factor, the Popper, and you know we can name a few more. So how is it that these artists still get big without any support from their local hip hop R&B radio station? Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the history of the Kansas City radio is you know they have in my opinion, a monopoly on the Kansas City airways, because there's not any other radio stations that play, urban, R&B, and rap music.
Right.
And they consistently remained in, some of the top rankings as far as their formula in playing music. And basically, that's attributed to them really kind of copycatting the playlist from most of your other top 40 stations in other markets across the country. And so the program director, he sticks to a formula that has worked for him for years, and part of that formula is to make sure you continue to play the top 40 hits in regular rotation so that you don't lose listeners. Which is a formula that has existed and has worked for him for a number of decades with older demographic and older listeners. Times have changed. A lot of the younger generation, they don't listen to 103 like some of us did, from my generation, some of my parents did from the older generation, just because it doesn't really have as more of a modern sound when you compare it to some of the other markets. I mean, I live here in St. Louis now, and in St. Louis, you can hear local music at regular times of the day, other than your late night Friday and Saturday club hours.
Right. Okay.
And so like to speak about artists like Tech Nine, Rich the Factor, and the Papa. I mean, really just to kind of speak on that, Rich the Factor. That's a really good example. Rich the Factor has created one of the largest buzzes in the history of Kansas City music, with very, very little radio play. I mean, I can't remember very many songs that 103 has played from Rich the Factor's catalogs over the years, but he just completely decided to be dedicated to the independent route, right, and just stay out on his grind in the streets. And the people of Kansas City, the majority of the people of Kansas City would consider Rich the Factor one of the kings of the streets, and it's very compelling when you think about how many listeners, how many shows that Rich the Factor will consistently sell out, how many projects he's come out with over the last few decades that continue to sell out, and how much money he's made from independent music without any or little radio support from 103. Right. I think that's really just attributed to the fact that there is a demographic of listeners that want to hear the type of music and content that a rapper like Rich the Factor presents in his music. With Tech Nine, he struggled for many, many years to get radio support, and it really wasn't until he built independent buzz that was large enough to where the radio didn't have any choice but to play some of his singles and big records, because these are some records that are getting Billboard momentum. You get some of Rich, but some of Tech Nine's music has reached a mainstream level because of his independent grind. So you have two independent artists. The Popper has probably gotten the most love on 103 out of those artists, but even he is a respected and well-known artist in the local streets of Kansas City. He doesn't get the type of radio support that somebody outsider, somebody that is in other mainstream music will get. And so, to answer that question, really, it's two ways to answer that question. I think that they've gotten the radio support because they've won over the listeners, but part of the reason, that they haven't gotten the radio support. So part of the other reason that they haven't gotten the radio support is because of the attitude at the radio station. I mean, the program director is not going to take chances on breaking Kansas City artists and potentially losing some of the demographic that didn't grow up on rap music.
So, I have another question related to that, but let me speak to something else real fast. I find it kind of odd or irregular that, again, artists like Rich, artists like the Popper, and there's that KC to the Bay hip-hop rap connection as well. When the Bay Area, when their artists come over here to perform, artists like Jay Stylin, Joe Blow, Hustler, etc., usually when artists go to different cities, they promote their show and appearances at the radio station. And you don't hear those Bay Area artists or other Midwest artists who come here to perform. You don't hear them go to the radio station to promote or advertise their event.
Yeah.
So I find that kind of odd, but they still get the love and support from their fans. And so as we're conversing here, you kind of breaking it down, and it makes more sense to why Kprs throughout the years, for decades, like you stated, has not really shown a lot of support or love for our artists.
Well, I think the other side of that is the program director at Kprs has a certain level of risk that he is not willing to take in terms of content, and then also reputation of the artist. I mean, I learned a lot of risk the factor fans. I mean, you're talking about real Kansas City grit and music. You're talking about a real hustler's mentality, and some of the crowds that he brings out to his shows and his performances. Some of the folks that line up to go get his latest project may not be the type of crowd that the program director at KPRS is comfortable with attracting.
Right.
And that's not me saying anything against that crowd, because I'm completely comfortable around that crowd. Most of the Kansas Cityans that have grown up on that Rich the Factor music, they're comfortable around that type of a crowd.
Right.
So it's not anything that speaks to what the public wants, but it's more of what the people that run the actual station want, what they want to be advocates for, what they want to be able to support and put on their resume and say that they signed off on. There's a lot of Kansas City music that is completely independent artists or the popper. Some of those bigger artists that have all of these years on the streets and kind of become the talk of the town. I believe that the station and the program director is scared to deal with most artists because of those larger artists, and that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, because if you've been in business as long as some of the heads at KPRS have been in business, you understand that there are a lot of different ways to present some of the same content, because even some of the music that you hear in the top 40 hits, some of the music that you hear in regular rotation on 103, the content is not any different than something that a Rich the Factor or Tech Nine talk about. It's just that somebody in another market has already told them that this is safe to play on the radio.
Exactly.
And because these artists are not local, you can feel more safe playing a non-local artist, because if let's say you don't give him enough spins, or you say something on the air about his music that he doesn't particularly favor, you may not ever have to see that artist. You may not ever have to see supporters of that artist in your local town, because they're not from their local. And so it becomes, here's where the issue comes between issues and just asking for some sort of explanation that makes sense. When you think about all of those things, when you think about the reviews that, hey, you're not submitting quality music, but then you have artists that submit quality music according to their standards, but then they talk about their content and say, well, we don't know if we want to, put this type of content on the air from Kansas City. But then at the same time, you're playing content of the same manner from an artist in Atlanta.
Right.
An artist that's, from Texas is going to be talking about some of the same content that an artist from Kansas City is talking about. And then let's say that the music is not even quality. There's a lot of trash music that comes out of these other markets that become top 40 regular rotation hits, and 103 has no problem playing that. But you'll for lack of a better term, you'll shit on your local artist.
Right.
And you'll say, well, this is trash music. This will never catch on. And what happens is, it really just boils down to the essence of music and what everybody's role is supposed to be in it. As a DJ, you're supposed to break the records. You're supposed to actually play the records and pump the records in the public's ear to the point where they can't get enough of it. Because that's what they do with the top 40 hits. You know, nobody from Kansas City is calling in requesting to hear the All the Way Up record. You know, people hear that record because it's already being played. Right. You know, but you have a huge demographic of Kansas City listeners that are speaking the same story. It's not just the artists that are complaining. This is a story that a huge demographic of listeners have said, hey, if I have to turn on the radio and hear the same songs from out-of-towners over and over again, some of them are great songs, some of them are not so great. Why can't I hear more Kansas City music? That's a great point. And speaking to your point again, that was going to be my argument, is that the content lyrically and even the instrumentation of some of the music is similar, like you said, to most of the commercial music is out now. So, yeah, man, I definitely agree with you on that. So, why do you think, you kind of answered the question, but let's try to expound on it. Why do you think like Kprs has not followed the model and chartered the template of other like radio stations? Like you said, in St. Louis, you can hear local artists. You go to Atlanta right now, you're going to hear local artists. You go to Houston, you're going to hear local artists. You go to Akron, Ohio, you may hear some local artists. Like, why do you think they haven't? Because as we know, in business, things evolve, things trend. So things change. And so why do you think they have not chartered those type of same templates to their radio station business? Well, I mean, this is just my opinion because I don't know for sure. I mean, I can't really speak for the station. At this point, again, I don't do music anymore, so I'm not even speaking from an artist standpoint because, again, I said this earlier, I mean, pretty much every song that I ever submitted to 103, they supported. I mean, I got radio play from because, you know, following every instruction that they gave me, they worked with me. But again, I think that was more based on my network and building my rapport and relationships with people that worked at the radio station. And for me, that was almost part of the reason why I felt discouraged about continuing to do music, because not everybody is going to be in a position to network and build a relationship directly with radio station staff. So when you have these artists that I continue to see do everything else that they were supposed to do in terms of building their own buzz, getting listeners and the public to want to hear their music, and then 103 still there supporting. The only thing that I can attribute it to is because it is based on the network. It's not just based on the artists doing everything that they're supposed to do. It's more of for lack of a better term, becoming a part of the in crowd. You know, whether that's through, you know, supporting the radio station, sponsorship, and wherever, whether that is through doing the DJ meet and greets. And, you know, artists now are doing DJ meet and greets where when they have a new project coming out, they set up you know, an event with, you know, refreshments and drinks for the DJs, and you know, you want to invite your radio station DJs and your DJs that are spinning their clubs to try to, you know, kind of sweeten them up and give them a reason to listen to your music and let them know, hey, I support the DJs, do me a favor and support me. If you're not doing those things, which are really just networking events, if you're not doing those things, that really doesn't have anything to do with your music and getting your music to the people. But it's like, you know, they tell you to get your music to the people. You can do that. You kind of muffled again, brother. Networking. Kind of muffled again, brother Rod. I said, you can get your music to the people and do everything that they're asking you to do. But if you're not doing that additional step, as far as networking and trying to sweeten up all of the people that you need to support you as far as the DJ network and the radio staff network, if you're not doing that step in addition, then chances are you're really not going to go far, because that's what they really mean when they say you need to get out here and grind. What they really mean is that they want you to get out here and network more and talk to the people that really now kind of play the role of gatekeeper in terms of getting your music out to a larger audience. So I think it's just based on networking. I think it's based on networking and becoming a part of that in crowd. Because, you know, at the end of the day, you know, there's quality music that you want to TV playing. The music is quality. And then there's also listeners that are asking, why are they not hearing this song or that song? I mean, and it's not even something, you know, it's not even something where you would have to play, you know, a whole hour during, you know, rush hour, for instance, play a whole hour of local music. You don't have to do that. Right. I mean, even if you play one or two songs in an hour's time by a local artist that you were given a chance, you know, hey, take the listeners call in on the side. Hey, here goes something where there's a featured artist of the hour, right here from Kansas City. You know, different things like that. The station has just never been open to doing. And it's amazing because you can get that listening to the radio in other markets. And that's, I think, what was my biggest thing with the post. And when I made my post, it was more I was more speaking from the angle of, you know, stop the madness and let's speak on the real issue. Stop making it out like the Kansas City artists, the Kansas City listeners that actually have these complaints are just making it up. These are legitimate complaints. These are things that have existed long before this Brian Buchanan and Warren situation. It wasn't even about Brian Buchanan and Warren personally. It wasn't about anything that had to do with my history personally as an artist or my support from the radio station. Because again, I always had all of the support that the radio station could have given me. But it's about the culture, the hip hop culture, the local music scene, not just hip hop. You got a lot of R&B artists that come out of Kansas City that don't get support from the radio station for one reason or another. And, you know, they tell them, hey, if you do this A, B, C, and D, and we'll get your music on the radio. But then the artists that do A, B, C, and D, once they do that, they're told to do, you know, T, F, and G. And so it becomes a runaround. And so when people are complaining, it's the same old complaints that they're complaining about computers. It's not something new.
Right, I agree with that. Let me ask you this, man. With everything we just talked about, and also based on the responses from your post, in your humble opinion, do you think that artists as well as the consumers of Kprs, do you think that they are losing confidence in Kprs? And do you think Kprs is losing its credence or its credibility because of that?
You know, I would say yes and no. I think that there are a lot of blind supporters because they have, you know, ties, friends, and family that work for the radio station. A lot of folks that understand the challenges of some of the, you know, roles, like people like Brian Buchanan. I mean, Brian Buchanan doesn't really have a lot of power. He has, you know, he has his back against the wall. Right. But here's the thing. I do think that they are going to lose support and, you know, from the artists, lose faith from some of the consumers because, you know, this incident with Buchanan and Rory is something that crushed a lot of dreams of people that are young. Like, you have a lot of young artists that look up to somebody like Rory. He has an amazing story. He has a story. This is somebody that learned how to write, record, produce his own records, you know, do his own engineering in his own basement. And he worked and worked all of the social media outlets in terms of music, like SoundCloud and you know, Shazam, putting all of his music out there for people to be able to click and listen. And then the right people heard his music. The white people heard his music, and now this guy goes from, you know, a kid in high school to, you know, traveling all over the country to do music with some of the most high-profile people in the industry. You know, to another hometown kid from Kansas City, that's an inspiring story, man. That's very inspirational to a kid. But then when you look up on Twitter and as a fan, you know, of his music, you're asking why you can't hear that on the radio, and the radio DJ can say, hey, well, you just got lucky off of an algorithm.
Right, exactly.
You say, hey, well, we'll see where your pockets are in another 3 years. No matter who you are, no matter what that artist said to you to generate or provoke you to go into that type of getting personal, that's demoralizing. That's demoralizing for the public. The fact that this is a 19-year-old kid, he's not even old enough to buy liquor at this point. This is a 19-year-old kid who's born and raised in Kansas City. He represents Kansas City. He roots for the Chiefs and the Royals the same way that Brian B. Shining does.
Right.
So when he's out here on the road and when he's doing his music, he's representing Kansas City and his love for the city the same way that Brian B. Shining claims to do on the air. So when you can see a back and forth, no matter who you are, whether it's me as a former artist and a listener, whether it's somebody that's never done music, whether it's somebody that just moved to the city and they come from a different market where they're not used to seeing that type of exchange between a local artist that actually is signed and a radio personality.
Right.
That's demoralizing. That doesn't look right. And then at the same time, you have to think about it. This is somebody's kid. This is somebody's kid who also is born and raised in Kansas City.
Right.
Who has a large family that has supported everything Kansas City. And so this is not an obstacle that you tell your kid that you're going to have to face. If your kid has a dream to do music or entertainment, any form of entertainment, you're not telling him beware of the professionals in your own city that are going to, downplay your accomplishments.
Right.
So that's a bad look. And that was my only point, my biggest and only point in making that post was to bring awareness to the fact that you started to create a separation that only exists when it comes to music between the artists and the DJs. It doesn't. There's not a separation between the artists and the listeners. Each artist, whatever it is that they're making, they got their own listeners,
right?
That want to hear their music. When you talk about the artist and the producer relationship, you don't see producers out here making posts or talking shit about what artists are doing because they understand that they need each other. The same thing with the artists. The artists are not complaining about the producers overcharging for beats or whatever they could be complaining about. They don't complain about those things because when it comes to that relationship, they know that one needs the other. One can't exist without the other.
Right.
And so from a DJ standpoint, you have no music to play unless these producers and these artists get together and create this music. You're just a button pusher. And that's not taking anything away from the DJs that actually do their job. But when I think about a DJ that does his job, I think about it from the same aspect as a producer/artist relationship. An artist has a role, a producer has a role, a DJ has a role.
Right.
And if everybody stays in their lane and understands that we all need each other in order to play our respective roles and get off of that cocky attitude, then there will be more progress made.
Right. Yeah, you laid that out perfectly, brother. I definitely agree with that, man. Before I get you out of here, man, one more question. Again, as I go back to, based on your posts, based on the responses and the sentiment shared, if you were in any type of managerial acuity at Kprs, what would you change to combat the feelings that the people are showing on the social media about Kprs? What would you do to change that if you had the ability to do it?
All right, I'm gonna answer this question in two different ways. I'm gonna answer it from a professional standpoint. I'm gonna answer it from a personal standpoint.
All right.
Personally speaking, I'm gonna do that one first. Personally, I think that Kprs is ran by old generation people that need to be moved out of their position. I think that the program director, and don't get me wrong, man, look, I have nothing personally against anybody that works there. This is about the culture. This is about the history of Kansas City music and the scene and the challenges that the artists continue to face, and then the broken promises that the people in power at Kprs continue to break. Myron, the program director, he's been in that position for far too long. essentially, and I'll get even more deep here. Essentially, he's made a lot of power moves since he's been in his most recent power position and gotten rid of anybody that are pretty much calling out on his shit.
Oh,
Tony G is no longer at 103. Sean Tyler is no longer at 103. You know, these are people that came in with Myron D in their era and in their generation, and now he's in a situation where everybody that works under him is pretty much puppets and yes men. Now that's just my personal opinion from what I've seen from different industry officials that I've talked to, family members and friends.
Okay.
Professionally speaking, you know, even whether Myron continued to work in his position of power or it was somebody else, from a professional standpoint, there's all sorts of different things that the radio station could do to show local support. You know, you have all of these radio personalities that are out doing live remotes at all of these different events. That tells me that you have enough manpower to have a committee or a department that's strictly for local artist development and consultation. I mean, you can have a group of DJs or interns or staff workers that work at 103 and they work directly with the local artists in terms of, you know, a checkpoint and a checklist. Hey, you know, for you to submit your music, you got to go through this committee, and we'll help you do everything that you're supposed to do, and we'll uphold our end of the deal. We'll help you get your music to the DJs. I mean, this is the thing. The artists, they're doing their part in terms of going in to create the music.
Right.
They're up late at night writing and recording and trying to get these vocals right on these tracks, and then they get the music done, and then somebody tells them, okay, now you got to go out and be your own DJ. And that's wrong.
Right.
Coming from a city, especially, I mean, I know that that's the game, no matter where you go. But when you're talking about Kansas City, in a city where you have a history of DJs that have not broken any major records or artists, that have not taken a chance, these DJs that work for the radio station and the clubs, then nobody's booking them or lining up to book them in Vegas or Miami just because of the work that they put in with Kansas City and Kansas City artists and music. They're on the same level of trying to be put on as the local artists in Kansas City.
That's a great point.
And so, you know, from that would be one of my ideas. I mean, the other thing that you would need to do is that you would need to get to the point where you stop exploiting the artists for the information. Like, for instance, 103 does a music conference right now. And that's a music conference that was actually started about 7 or 8 years ago. And it was started when I was really deep off and part of the movement when Kenny Diamonds was actually still in Kansas City, and we started this movement to try to create these conferences to educate the artists and to bridge the gap between, you know, club DJs, radio DJs, artists, producers, graphic artists, anybody in the industry. We wanted to be able to create these networking events to where we all can share information and network. And now that has turned into something where artists have to register and pay a registration fee. You have to pay money basically for the information, and that still doesn't guarantee you that you're going to get radio play.
Right.
You know, so it's a lot of different things that the radio station, instead of monetizing the opportunity to exploit the artist, you're a radio station. You're really in business to sell advertisement and ads.
Right.
That's the business.
Exactly.
So if you're hosting these music conferences, it would be very easy to change the business model of that and either lower the cost or eliminate the cost for the artists and the people that are actually still trying to get on. You can have more sponsorship. It's supposed to be a networking event where you have different businesses, whether it's people that own studios, people that run graphic design businesses. They can pay for booth space and sponsorship space to promote their businesses during your conference, where you don't have to continue to charge the artists. You know, these are just that's just my opinion. I mean, but these are very simple business model changes that you can do to actually show a good faith of support that, hey, we actually are in your corner. We want to make it easy for you to be making quality music that we can play on the radio, and hopefully it can take you out of here.
Man, great suggestion.
So
great suggestions, brother.
You know.
Man, great suggestions, man. Like I said, brother, I don't want to keep you too long. I want to keep you all night, man. Everything has been very insightful. Appreciate it very much, man. Thank you for joining us on FATHERU Radio. Before we go, two things. Is there anything else you would like to share? And the second thing, would you go ahead and give out your contact information just in case anybody wants to check out any of your work?
Yeah, absolutely, man. As far as anything, I don't really have anything I want to share, man. Like I said, man, I'm not doing music anymore right now. I'm running a publishing company, Angela Marie Publishing, and I have a book series that we're promoting right now. It's called The Art of Cheating Episode, and so you can find that at all of your online bookstores, Amazon, Barnes and Noble. If anybody wants to contact me and get at me on social media, you can contact me on my Twitter, which is at Holly and His Ego. So that's my Twitter, and then I'm on Facebook, man. I got a Facebook that's basically based on promoting my book series. So my Facebook is called The Art of Cheating.
The Art of Cheating, okay.
The Art of Cheating. So and like I said, man, I'm real active on social media, man, and stuff. I know I have a really large following, and when I made that post, it was really just kind of piggybacking off of all of the posts that were being made prior that week that were about, just the whole DJ versus the artist struggles, because I don't think that there's a beef. I don't think there's a beef between DJs and artists.
Okay.
I think that there's just challenges and obstacles that they need to overcome, and it needs to be recognized on both sides. For a long time, the artists were not recognized or admitting that maybe the quality of their music, some of the quality of their content could be a little bit more radio friendly. But I think that they've come off of that high horse, and they've become way more willing to do what they need to do to submit the right type of quality music and content. But the radio station and the DJs, they're not upholding their end of the bargain. That's just a fact.
Man. Brother.
So yeah, that's all I got for you, man. I mean, I appreciate y'all having me on the show, man. If anybody got any questions, man, feel free to hit me on my social media, and I do my best, man, to respond to everybody and keep it popping.
Yes, sir, man. Again, man, thank you for all the information. Thank you for joining us, man. Gratitude to you. Family,
No doubt.
Thanks for the family listening out there. Please share the show. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, like Brother Holly Rod said, hit him up. Hit us up on FATHERU Radio. Check out FATHERU. This spring, we're going to do another cleanup event. We haven't chosen a location in the city, but we will do another cleanup event. We'll keep you guys posted on that, man. So with that said, family, y'all have a good evening. Peace, love, and hair greasing. Thank you, Brother Holly Rod, again.
All right, man. Y'all take it easy.
All right, man. One love. Thanks, brother.
One love.
All right, family. We out. Peace.